Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. You may have seen it, the Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney press conference from yesterday. Is it the final press conference? I don't know. I lose track of these things. But yeah, it was kind of an embarrassment really for Ryan Garcia. I don't know what the kid's on. I can guess, but but he arrived. First of all, the whole thing was about an hour late because Ryan arrived fashionably late, as they like to say, which is a phrase I hate. And he arrived with a load of like a dancing troupe of girls, and he was on a white horse. Thank God he wasn't dressed as Lady Godiva. And he got onto the stage eventually. He appeared. He had that sort of sweaty, rather buzzed look about him, rather amped up, hype look. When he got on the mic, he was talking, he did a load of God Squad stuff, which, look, I'm an atheist. None of that stuff means anything to me, but I would imagine if you were going to talk about Jesus Christ or being a Christian, you want to really set a good example, don't you? Or am I old-fashioned in that respect? Don't forget, when you're from the UK, it's Church of England, so it's all sort of Mortivica religion. But anyway, whatever the case, he rambled. All glory to Jesus, and then Haney came on. It was all glory to Allah, and all this, all glory to everyone. It's all a lot of piss and wind to me. But just getting back to Ryan, it didn't take him long to admit, because his voice was coming across as being quite, I don't know, gravelly, and Haney, when Ryan was in the midst of his little Jesus soliloquy, Devin Haney said, "What the F's happened to your voice? You need more coke to get your voice in order." And Ryan said, "I don't take coke, but I do smoke weed and I do drink." Okay, okay, all right. And then of course it's a case of Haney coming back and saying, "What are you doing? We got kids watching," and so on and so forth. "You're setting a poor example," and blah blah blah. Yeah, all of that's probably true, but Haney himself was the picture of, maybe not the picture of professionalism, because he had this weird sort of skeleton vest on, and he had these shades and oblong shades, and it didn't look very stylish to me. But then, what do I know about these younger people? Anyway, thankfully, let's put it this way. Thankfully, mobile phones weren't around in my day, or there'd be some interesting pictures of me. But I never wore a skeleton vest. I never wore those shades. Anyway, what I'm saying is, at least Haney had the demeanour of a fighter, of a professional who was on it. Egotistical, yeah, in a very different way to Ryan. But he had a certain maturity to him, which maturity is the one thing Ryan Garcia lacks. I mean, this kid is, I don't know what's wrong with him. Is it drugs? Is it addiction? Is it just mental health in general? Obviously, if he has got any mental health issues, and he has pulled out of fights in the past with mental health, the drink and the drugs isn't going to do him a lot of good. Is he even going to go through with the fight? Wouldn't surprise me remotely if he pulled out. Not even remotely. And if he is in as bad a state as you would expect, or you would think he would be, judging by the eye test, maybe he should pull out, or maybe he should be pulled out by his team, by people who supposedly care about him. Now, his trainer, of course, is Derek James, and they've only worked together once for the recent 10-round KO win. But if I was James, I'd be thinking, what the hell is going on? I'm not working with this damn kid. It's ridiculous. Someone did say, I was on Boxing Beats and Rhymes Hangout yesterday as this was happening. Shout out to Beats, of course, as always. And he said, well, someone said, I don't know if it's Beats, but someone in the chat said, maybe it's a ruse, maybe he's trolling everyone. Well, if he is, I suppose that's a good bit of clever play. But I don't think so. I think this guy's, I suppose it's possibly he's exaggerating it for effect to sell tickets and so on. But the thing about Garcia is, and we touched on this as well during the hangout, but he's come up on a social platform. He had a lot of followers on Instagram, whatever the hell it was. You know, he's that sort of Twitter generation, Instagram, all that stuff. And it seems to me that he's one of those people, probably because he's grown up on it, who can't or has difficulty telling the difference between the virtual world and the real world. And I mean emotionally. I mean, obviously he knows that this is reality and being on Instagram isn't real, but the two strongly overlap. And as a result, you know, it's a big deal having like 1 million followers or whatever to him. Emotionally, he can't dissect it and deconstruct it and say, okay, well, I've got 1 million followers, but I've never met virtually all of those people. He may have done, but not in real life. And it's not real. They don't know me. I don't know them. But no, because it's about numbers. It's about, you know, it's kind of like OnlyFans models. We also touched on this subject. This is something else I know a great deal about, but they just seem like a load of amateur porn stars or strippers or pin-ups, or they get the tits out, or, you know, a bit more. And they have sex on camera, and, you know, some of these misfits girls are on there, and it's like you're famous for being famous. You're not famous because you've got talent, or, you know, you're not famous because a lot of people have a high opinion of you or respect you. They're just, you know, maybe you're the current fad. Maybe they're just, if you're an OnlyFans model, maybe it's just a load of dirty old men subscribing. Ryan probably got a lot of his followers because he ain't a bad looking kid. So maybe a lot of girls. Yeah, but do these people know boxing? And is this the real world? Would they like him if they met him? It seems that he's severely overlapped those two concepts, reality and everything that goes with it, and, you know, being this image on the screen on a device. Very different thing, of course, as well most of us know. But I guess if you grow up with it, yeah, emotionally, even maybe subconsciously, you sort of forget that the two things are different. But I think Ryan Garcia needs help, you know, some sort of help, and of course he won't get it. He might, even if he's offered it, even though he's a cash cow and a lot of people are not going to say no to him, even if someone does offer it to him, he's got to be ready to take it. And as far as taking weed and smoking weed and drinking alcohol goes, it never ends well. I mean, there's so much crap talked about cannabis, how it's harmless and blah de blah. You know, chocolate bars are dangerous if you eat too many of them. You know. Weed is a mind-altering substance. Any mind-altering substance, you might do it very occasionally. Okay, all right. You might have a drink very occasionally. But if you can't turn up for a multi-million-dollar press conference, you know, straight, if you can't even do it for that, it does indicate something more severe to me. And he's just immature. He's a big kid, right? He's a big kid. And if he loses this fight, and if he does go through with the fight, I expect Haney to beat him by stoppage, not on points. I mean, he'll certainly outbox him. I expect Ryan to quit, first of all, in the fight if the going gets tough. That's the first thing. But it won't be his fault. He'll get rid of Derek James. He'll sack him, as he's done in the past. The whole scenario yesterday was cringe, as the young people say. Cringe. Horrible stuff. And Devin Haney, I mean, even despite his stupid attire and those damn silly sunglasses, afterwards, well, during the conference, but certainly afterwards in interviews, he said a few sensible things. He said, look, Ryan's losing it. Ryan's lost it. And he seemed to doubt whether Ryan would go ahead. I saw a few other interviews, post interviews. Obviously, Oscar De La Hoya, who's Ryan's promoter, was saying he's pound for pound, and no, he's not pound for pound. He's nowhere near it. He's never been a world champ. There are plenty of 140-pounders who beat him. Can you imagine Ryan in with Subriel Mateus? Can you imagine the mess that Mateus would make of Ryan? He'd shatter his ego. Ryan would probably quit, as many of Mateus's opponents do. But you know, someone like Robert Garcia was interviewed, and he was saying, I think he said he's got a son or he's a grandson or something who's a big Ryan fan. He said, "Oh, my son or my grandson looking at this garbage," you know, telling him I smoke, I smoke weed, I drink. I mean, lots of young people do it. There's a lot to be said for sowing your wild oats when you're young, because you get it out of your system, and then you can move on to having a real life, a life that isn't about being away with the fucking fairies or living on Instagram, or you can actually have a real life in the real world. And most people, they sow their wild oats when they're young, and then they move on and they mature. They basically mature. Well, Ryan Garcia isn't maturing, clearly is not maturing, and taking mind-altering substances of any sort, legal or otherwise, you don't mature that way. You don't mature that way. And of course, the weed, well, they call it weed nowadays, but my God, it's a lot stronger than it was when I was a kid. A lot stronger. I mean, outrageously stronger. This ain't a bit of grass. This is some serious THC stuff. But anyway, just a few thoughts on that rather embarrassing press conference. Leave yours below. Let me know what you think. And of course, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the like button. That would be really good. And spread the word about Joe Stunner Boxing. All right. Thanks a lot. Bye for now.